The long-awaited search for the best episode 2 is here, and what better way to continue than with one of the most requested episodes for this journey. Also plugging my Insta. We start the episode with Nicole downed after being sniped by a tryhard who pours way too many hours into Fortnite. Haha, just kidding. Apparently Richard gets a job, and to understand why that would be a crazy thing to hear and why Nicole would react this way, let's go back a season. This season, season 1, would have Richard not want to go back to school for a parents' evening, being forced to go even after failing to get a proper babysitter. It'd continue with episodes where Richard can't even do laundry correct, sent his own kids late at night to a convenience store that just so happens to be robbed, got pranked so hard that he kinda had an episode, explicitly said that Gumball's clothes came from the dump, and oh yeah, literally out-lazied his own kids to let them know that he has a reputation to protect. I talk about that in my search for the worst, the laziest. This is the man that got hired by or under the supervision of Larry, the other guy who was known for being lazy back in the day, and that's just the stuff that I can remember. My point is that Richard is not just someone who slacks off, but is shown to not really function under basic circumstances, and even relishes in the fact that he doesn't do anything. Naturally, you can see why Nicole is so surprised her English has regressed back into a 4-year-old.
I think I'm proud of you, Richard.
Do you mean proud?
Yes, I think so.
The premise of Richard getting a job in and of itself is actually a very fun idea. You have lots of room to play around with Richard's incompetence or wanting to feel like he matters, and there's just so many different opportunities you can go. In fact, what makes this episode better than most is that they didn't scrape the bottom of the barrel. They could have easily pulled the Patrick Star and had him just upset his boss by being stupid every step of the way, like pretty much Pat No Pay but with Richard. But this is season 2, so I would expect it to be funny nonetheless, but they went a different route and they made it work, so they have my respect and admiration for so. Nicole, either out of envy or incredible foresight, lies down, stating that she doesn't really feel like this is the greatest idea. She doesn't have a good feeling about this. And before Richard is off to work, we get a really interesting fact about Richard and his new job. Apparently, he's been cutting corners, or should I say, cutting middles.
Step 1. Remove a slice from the center of the pizza. Step 2. Eat the pizza slice. Step 3. Push the remaining halves of the pizza back together and cover your tracks. Step 4. Put the pizza in its box. Step 5. Enjoy how clever you are. Step 6. Repeat.
Aside from the fact that Richard's gluttony-fueled incompetence would make this very easy to find out, I think there's sort of a begrudging respect you have to give to Richard for coming up with an idea to get free food out of deliveries. It's like watching that weird dude from your neighborhood from afar and seeing him teach a squirrel how to ride on the back of a pigeon. It's not exactly what you would want, but just the tact to pull it off just impresses you, but you probably shouldn't engage any further. Unfortunately, Gumball and Darwin have to, as they're set on father-sitting duty. Although not having the limelight themselves, Gumball and Darwin's sort of reactionary style writing within episodes like this are top-notch. There's quite a few episodes where Gumball and Darwin do the impossible, react to something better going on, and also continue to be funny and prove their worth. Maybe they should release a masterclass on reaction videos. Nicole would continue to be worried, explaining that there are some things in this world that just shouldn't be, out of a raw, instinctive feeling she has in her gut. One of those things being that Richard can't have a job. It doesn't make any sense. It feels like the world shouldn't know how to operate with that. They even show this photo, and the music accompanying it gives it a very eerie vibe. You see Richard with his finger pointing and the lighting creating a lightning bolt visual casted onto the earth, and also Richard's eyes are something that wouldn't be out of place in a FNAF jump scare compilation. Although Anais is the intellectual here and sees this from a practical side, she says something that's rather interesting.
No, this is a good thing. We can finally buy all the things we need.
What do you mean? We've got everything we need.
Mom, we've all been wearing the same clothes for the past year. You 3 don't even have any shoes. And I think it's time to wear some pants.
It's actually one of the very few times that the Watersons were portrayed to be a bit poor. Like, you're really not supposed to be thinking about exactly where they are, even though they give you a few hints, like with Nicole working all the time and Richard not contributing to anything, but they never really have been seen to struggle within the show. It's one of those ambiguous things that they've never really clarified, and it's very interesting to go back into these older episodes and see these tiny pieces of information that they do give. So remember what I was saying about Gumball and Darwin not exactly being the main focus here, but making a great impact because they were and are very well written characters? Let me set the scene for you. Elmore is a place where anything can have a face, anything can be alive, anything can have eyes. So imagine delivering a pizza to a family that is essentially a bunch of pizzas. Are you delivering food or something more? Clearly it's something more, as you would see that they begin to speak to the food as you would a baby, a newborn. They get ready to pay, Gumball brings up his hands, and boom, the pizza falls to the floor, and to us, that's just a pizza. Maybe to some of our foodies in the comments, that's just as bad as dropping a newborn, but their face says it all. The reason the dark comedy works here is because it's built up to you as a regular joke. The joke is dark, but the darkness is just the flavor of a well-written joke. They set it up with the pizza delivery having it look legitimate to then pull the rug under you and say what it needs to say, reactions and all, and even give you one last tug before they're completely out of here. Compare this to certain other shows that feel the need to drag it out to the point where it isn't funny and the entire humor rests on the fact that you have to love dark humor instead of humor itself. And this is one of the reasons why Gumball works to me, because they have room to hit a lot of different areas, not just meta humor or referential humor as it would go on to be known for, but also dark humor that's contrasted against its bright, happy, and often innocent atmosphere, however with the subtle twists, as it's still on a network marketing to children. Speaking of children, let's check in on Richard. So let's talk about the painting. Within that episode, Richard was forced to get a job, in which he attempts to get a job, but weird things happen there. Whether it was the front doors or elevator, it seemed like the universe did not want Richard to have a job. It was never really explained within an episode why this occurred, and that's always been something in my head. As a fan, that didn't confuse me to the point where I thought about it, but it was always just something to just think about when you see that episode. However, when connecting those odd universe events to these odd universe events, we have a pattern. Both of these situations involve Richard having a job, or trying to get a job. While Gumball delivers his version of a veggie pizza, we get more oddities at the Watterson house. It's just that in this case, we see Anais and Nicole shine as well.
Anais, did you see that?
See what? Yeah, I know. Running water. Wasn't like that in your day, huh?
The goldenness is that while Nicole is correct that something is legitimately wrong, because she has built a reputation of being envious of people trying to take her spot as the breadwinner or better person in anything, she's only going to be believed with hard evidence, as this is something that she could be equally making up in the heads of those who didn't see the things that she sees. And with Anais's dry and snarky delivery contrasted against Nicole's cartoonish paranoia, it serves as a great scene to go back to from time to time. Like with how great Gumball and Darwin are at reacting to everything. Speaking of, we'd have Gumball and Darwin react to the Banana Family, who are rather eccentric enough to not be seen as odd when they act odd. The point being driven home when Richard drives across them, and like an otherworldly sonic boom, causes the Banana Family to be trapped in a loop. Now I know the pizza baby joke was dark, but imagine for a second, you're conscious as time moves forward, but you're stuck in your own independent time loop as the rest of time moves forward. So you can't tell anyone you need help because you're in your own time loop and they're in a different timeline, even though you guys are looking at each other. And everyone assumes you're silly because you've built up a reputation as being silly. So you're just gonna be stuck there forever because no one's going to take you seriously enough to help you. That sounds painfully dark. Too far? You know what? My fault. I looked too deeply into it. Here's a funny haha joke.
Okay. Game's over, guys.
Pizza, 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 pizza.
Right.
Pizza, pizza,
I'm
pizza,
just going to put the box down here. Okay. Bye now.
However, like with following through with putting the pizza in a really nice traditional stone oven, things are just heating up as we have the fabric of time and space itself being mangled with to the point where you'd have to be an idiot to not want to stop them. However, after being shown this universe mangling on television, Nicole and the kids finally get into their car and go after Richard in an attempt to stop him from delivering pizza. Problem is, said idiot who could fire him wouldn't want to stop him even if the universe is tearing apart, Larry. Now, I don't really have an issue with Larry, but if you did within this episode, I wouldn't blame you. I wouldn't think that that's a bad criticism. He's written to be forced to consider rules over common sense, and while Larry is the kind of guy who hops from job to job, not wanting to make his boss angry, very loyal towards his work, we've seen in other episodes like The Refund or The Laziest, earlier episodes, he's not above acting over emotion or sympathy, and thus his character seems kind of inconsistent here. The reason why I don't have a problem with any of this is because the episode is so good, you wouldn't even notice or care about that. Your mileage may vary. The beauty of writing a great episode is that things can get excused within the details because it's a good experience. And what better way to experience the amazing world of Gumball than with chaos?
I think the worst is over.
It's quite hard to do this episode justice. It reminds me of how I feel when it comes to explaining really good early SpongeBob, where I just want to say, don't listen to me, just watch it, don't listen to me at all, just experience it, you'll understand. And this is a really good example of good Gumball, like great Gumball actually, let me correct myself. The type of Gumball I really began to gravitate towards, and what turned me into a super fan. And it made me gravitate towards shows like this. It's really funny, really dumb, not afraid to do anything, and by anything I don't mean dark or edgy, I mean just in the chaotic sense of whatever works best for the story or whatever's the funniest thing to do for that situation. Everyone was on their A game, the visual effects were really good, the music in the chase scene is kind of catchy in a subtle way, honestly. There's not much else to say other than if you know why the job is good and probably one of the best Richard episodes, then you probably already know all of these things. The crazy thing about the search for the best series is that while I consider a lot of Gumball episodes to be really good, to find ones like these that are just fantastic from beginning to end will be a lot more rare, as not every episode knocked it out of the park, but almost every episode did a really good job regardless, up to season 5, maybe season 6.
Have you been eating this pizza?
Just a little bit from the middle.
Watterson, in accordance with Article 34 of the Affirmative Pizza Handbook.
I'll fire thee.
And just like that, they find a way to make a full circle, with Richard's sort of funny and genius way of mooching free food being used as the catalyst as the reason why he no longer gets to do so. It gave Larry apparently a legitimate reason to fire Richard, as he has to be dragged and pushed into getting even close enough to know about this entire incident. And it's a nice callback to have this character of all to be the one opening the door during all of this universe bending mess, as he was around Richard when he got his last job in the painting. Although disappointed and sad that he lost his job, justifiably no one within his family gives him a hard time for it, knowing the alternative. And it ends with Richard saying that he's already working on getting another job, and that was the job. Very awesome episode. I'd say that it actually is up there with one of the best, not my personal favorite, but definitely one of the better showings of Richard, if not the best that I know of. Anywho, make sure to drop more suggestions for the search for the best Gumball episode in the comments below, and I'll make sure to get these out a lot more quicker and consistent. And as always guys, thank you so much for your time and patience. As always, take care. Alpha out.